All right, everybody, welcome in. My name is Byron Jamal, and I'm so glad to be with you. You're here with me in my new office. I'm just getting set up in my new house, so y'all bear with me. You know, normally we have a little bit better decor behind me, but I'm excited to be on today with you. Look, we're going to get started talking about something I'm extremely happy to talk about today, and that's starting from scratch. Whether you are building a brand, a business, or even a new relationship, everything has a beginning. And having a strong start can be the difference between failure and success. So, for all of my moguls in the making out there looking to take your dream to the next level, tonight's talk is for you. Let's get going. What is a mogul? A mogul is a person who dominates an enterprise or industry. We've been taught that domination looks like war, destruction, and loss. But domination is nothing more than having a commanding influence. So whether you're in your boardroom or your home office, your cubicle or your conference room, we come to dominate. As we influence each other, we will change our world. This road can be lonely and free time few, but be encouraged because you're no longer alone. Welcome to Mogul in the Making Masterclass. All right, so excited. Thank you so much. Look, the main reason I started Mogul in the Making is a very personal reason. As a love and success coach, I really realized that there are so many professionals who are dealing with depression and suicide rates. And it's alarming, but it's very logical because there are so many people out there who are looking for support systems but can't find them and looking to form healthy relationships, but entrepreneurship is often a lonely road. And while working in politics, corporate life, entertainment, and entrepreneurship, I've complained about the lack of camaraderie and support amongst gifted people. And now I get an opportunity to do this and to help form a group where people can actually come together and work together in amazing ways. Today, I have some amazing people on with us, and I'm very excited about who they are and what they represent. I'm excited about how they're coming in and what they're doing with their lives and their journey. First up, I want to bring on the amazing Sabrina Jenkins. She is the founder of Elite Nannies of Nashville. Sabrina, how are you today? Good to have you. What has been I can't hear you. I'm sorry. Maybe it's me. There you go. There you go.
Hi, thanks for having me.
So glad to have you actually. Tell us a little bit about what you do and how you do it.
So I own a nanny agency.
Apologies.
Oh my, no.
Whoa, I tell you, starting from scratch. All right, good to see. Let's try that again. So tell us what you're doing, how you do it.
So I own a nanny agency. So Elite Nannies of Nashville is my very first business. I've been in business for 4 years now and started it in the summer of 2016 and haven't looked back ever since. I'm one of those crazy people that quit their job and 2 weeks later started a business. I am not the person that has the by the book way of starting a business. I kind of had this gut feeling that I needed to do it and I did it. And so I haven't looked back ever since. What I do is I help families. So I get to know them and figure out if I can help them. And if I can, I basically do all of the recruiting for them. So I recruit household employees to work in their homes, and then I walk them through the hiring process. So a little bit of HR, a lot of recruiting and retention, some marketing in there, and also It's a very personal job. So you're working with new parents most of the time, and you're working with people who are looking for employment. And those two things are very important. And so, there's some personal in there as well. And I'm a former nanny, former preschool teacher myself. So I know the business very well.
Awesome. Well, thank you for being on. I want to bring in also AJ Rucker. He is the founding partner of Rucker Insights, and with the good brothers of Alpha Phi Alpha. He's a Midwest AVP. Welcome in, AJ. How you doing today, my brother?
Hey, Byron, I appreciate you for having me, man. How are you?
Absolutely. I'm great. Glad to have you on as well. Tell us a little bit about who you are and what you do.
Yeah, absolutely. So, again, my name is AJ Rucker. I am the founding partner of Rucker Insights. I'm actually a fourth-year economics student at DePaul University, and very thankful to serve Alpha Alpha as a Midwestern Regional Assistant Vice President. I'm a South Side of Chicago native, born and raised. I'm actually back living with my folks here due to COVID. We're not on campus. And Rucker Insights is a minority-owned boutique consulting firm. In essence, we help businesses grow their profits through providing specialized reports, project management, really taking an outsider's perspective and an understanding of business and helping folks who are either just starting or growing their organization to grow it effectively.
I love that. Thank you so much for being on as well. And I want to bring in now the amazing Dr. Felicia Phillips. She is the master business coach and strategist who is over the amazing conference I got to be a part of, which is MogulCon, Empowering Women of Color. She is a dynamic speaker and just an all-around great person. So glad to bring her on. Dr. Phillips, welcome into our conversation.
Hello there. Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. So glad to have you on. Tell the good people what you do and how you do it.
Absolutely. So I'm a 30-year entrepreneur. I'm a master business strategist, and I work with, honestly, Black women-owned businesses, helping them to grow and scale. We do have the pleasure of working with corporations on their supplier diversity initiatives. So we do a lot of work in the community and really helping people build the foundation of their small business.
I love that. Thank you all for coming on today and being a part of this. I'm really excited about this conversation because so many people start and they have a big dream, they have a big vision, they have a big goal, something that they see bigger than themselves. And often people just say, go for it, take the first step, launch out. But you wouldn't lay on an operating table and let any person with a scalpel start operating on you if they haven't gone through the training. You wouldn't give keys to a kid if they had never driven a car. And so what is it? How important is it to be prepared when starting something new like a business? Sabrina, you were talking earlier about starting off back in 2016. What does that mean to you about being prepared when it comes to starting your business?
For me, it was mindset. It was, how bad do I want to do this? Most businesses don't last the first year. They fail within that first year. And I was determined for my business to make it to a year old. That was my goal. And so for me, it was making sure this was right. Making sure that I was mentally healthy and mentally strong enough to handle the obstacles that were going to come my way. My first business. I had never owned a business before. And so I wasn't exactly sure of the hurdles that I was going to have to jump over. So for me personally, it was a mental space, making sure that I was in a healthy space mentally, that I was feeling confident and that I was feeling strong, and that I was surrounding myself with people who were going to lift me up and that were going to support me during that time.
Awesome. Thank you about that. That's really good mindset. I think having the right mind when you come into and understanding what it's going to take, having your mind ready for what it means to step into a business and become a business owner. I think it's a different life. Well, it's not a thought. It is a different life when you're not getting someone's paycheck. When you're living off of your own dream instead of someone else's, it's an entirely different life. So changing your mind is big. I thank you for that. What about for you, Dr. Phillips? What would you say about being prepared?
Well, here's the thing. We always talk about when people go into business, they do it out of passion or out of necessity. You need a strategic plan. You need something that's going to take you at least the first 3 years of the business. You need projections. You need to know the marketplace. And so sometimes we're so eager to make that first dollar or get that first transaction that we forget to prepare for the process. And then we get sidetracked because things will happen. It's a part of business. But if you have a strategic plan, that's like having your roadmap. It's going to tell you what you should be doing every step along the way. 70%. I mean, I always say, if you want to know the truth about something, look at the numbers. 70% of small businesses fail because they don't do a strategic plan. They just want to get to it. And we have to be even more specific when we're talking about the Black community, right? So even everybody wants to talk about what happened this year. But what was happening with us started long before the pandemic. Let's be honest, okay? We were seeing what other people are doing online, and we think, I can do it too. And so we strike out to do this business, and it's not what we think it is because somebody made it look great on social media. And so when we went into 2019, our numbers had started dropping off as far as businesses had started to close in our community. So where we were at 3 million businesses, we were then, now in 2019, we were at 2 million. Well, guess what? Those 2 million businesses, only 107,000 of those businesses had employees. You all, we have to look at the fact that we're not building businesses, we're creating jobs for ourselves. And so we do it under the guise of small business, but then this year happened, the pandemic happened, and those businesses could not get the EIDL loan, the PPP money. They couldn't even qualify for it. They couldn't even qualify to get the unemployment because they're getting money through Cash App and PayPal. And that is not how you do business. Yes, it's a convenience, but guess what? PayPal is not an accounting system. Cash App is not an accounting system, and you cannot run your business like that.
And that is so true. My partner was going through the process of getting a house, and many of the transactions were done via Cash App. So there was some some I would say strategic things that the accountant had to do in order to show the viable income that was happening, because he's getting money from parents who are for the tutoring of their kids. Yes, absolutely. And I agree that seeing businesses in today's age who are failing, many of them had symptoms of that already prior to COVID. And this is why this conversation is so necessary today, because I think people need to have that good mindset and have that strategic plan in order to move forward. Brother AJ, what do you think when it comes to being prepared as a young man who's still in school and still has a business and is launching into other leadership abilities and facets? How prepared were you, or how do you think of preparedness in the process of even being in school?
Absolutely. So I think what Sabrina and Dr. Phillips both said is along the guise of stay ready so you don't have to get ready.
Yes.
Right. And this broader conversation around preparedness, for me, I knew that if I was going to start a business and ask folks for help, that they were going to have 1,000,001 questions, right? And so I think it's as Dr. Phillips mentioned, it's understanding the marketplace, but it's also what Sabrina said as well, is making sure that you're in that right mental space. So one of the things that I did leading up to me filing the LLC paperwork was challenge myself when it came to discipline, right? Because I think a large reason why 70% of small businesses fail within that year is we aren't used to that added weight and responsibility of knowing that you're truly eating what you kill. But when you don't kill, you don't eat. And that weighs heavily. So I think it's of course understanding the marketplace. It's understanding what your business does and how you can add value to people. Right, the elevator pitch is incredibly important, but I think it's a confidence builder for you. So one of the things that I do is I'm in my business plan every single day. Right. We have the projections, we have the expansion plan built out across 10 years. And as the markets evolve and change, we slowly evolve and change the plan. But more importantly, I know my services, I understand the market. So if somebody asks me, what does Rucker Insights do? How do you add value and how do you add something to the conversation? I have the confidence and I'm able to refer back to it and say, well, this is how we do it.
I love that. And
So
I'm glad to hear a brother with a plan, being able to have a plan and be clear about it is so pivotal. All right. I really thank you for that start, because I think everybody's going on. What it means. Is everybody there?
Yeah, we're here.
Let me see. Oh, sorry about that. Let me
Breaking
see.
up
Maybe
just
it's
a little.
me. Everybody, you're good?
Yes.
Okay.
Yep.
All
Can hear
right.
you now.
There we go. All right. Sorry about that. All right. Am I back now? It might be me. Yeah. All right. I think I'm back, right?
We can hear you now.
All right. Perfect. Dr. Phillips, the master business strategist. Y'all forgive me. New in the new home, so I probably got to check the Wi-Fi here. Tell us what it means to be a master business strategist and what strategy really means to you, because that word is a part of your title. So what does that mean to you?
It's important to me. So here's what I will tell you. Titles, yeah, I'm a master business strategist. I've been doing this for a long time, various industries, from retail to logistics. We've been in technology, professional services. But even more than that, I'm going to tell you what's important beyond the title is that whoever you're working with as a coach or an advisor or a strategist, that they have a reference point. You need to be working with people who have real world experience, who can really help you. For me, I know what's important for my clients is that I understand where they are in their business and that I can give them real strategies that can help them, not just textbook strategies or something I learned from, going to a course, but things that I've done in the real world that can help them grow and scale their business.
Well, thank you for that. I appreciate you. I was just getting some stuff together behind the scenes. What was your strategy, Sabrina, when you started your nanny agency with zero capital? Because you literally started with nothing and you launched out this big thing. I mean, awesome, by the way. Congratulations on surviving and thriving for 4 solid years, going into now 5. But what was your strategy? What was your big thing in your head to really make sure it would work?
So my strategy was word of mouth. I had started doing the numbers, but prior to what I do now, I was a director of admissions. So I worked at a private preschool and I was in charge of enrollment. So I knew that every private, beautiful preschool in Nashville had a waiting list that was hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of families long. I also knew that 50 to 100 people moved to Nashville every day. If you do the math, there would never be enough schools to host all of the children that are coming to Nashville each and every day. And so for me, my strategy was to make sure that I got the word out there to the most important people in my life, the mothers of these children. Moms talk. Moms get together and have play dates. Moms go to church together. Moms go to the gym. Moms. That was my strategy to get in my clients' faces. I had a very specific strategy of what I learned from my mentors was shopping other nanny agencies in town and seeing what they were offering. I saw that no one was offering curriculum. And so I offer a curriculum-based nanny agency where just because your child doesn't get into the fancy preschool in town, you still get curriculum, but this time it's one-on-one with the nanny and your child. And so that was huge. No other agency in the region was doing that at the time, and they probably still aren't. And so that was something that set us apart. It was huge. It blew up immediately. And the great thing about it was I had just spent 13 years of my life taking care of children. So I had 13 years worth of families that would say to other families, I trust Sabrina. Sabrina is one that you can trust. I highly recommend her agency without having used it.
Yes.
Another really important thing for me was I noticed that none of the agencies were meeting in families' homes. This was prior to COVID, obviously. I used to meet with every family in their home. So imagine being a new mother, you've just had a child, and you are at home on maternity leave, and you have this company that's going to come to you, sit in your home, and talk to you about your needs. That set me apart. I would say 95% of the families I met in person, I received them as clients. And so that was my strategy. The only thing that has changed now is Zoom. So I just do everything on Zoom now. But at this point, I've made a big enough, I guess, presence in the city to where we are a household name. So we're really blessed.
Some great points in that. I mean, really, when you think about, number one, being able to really research the people who do what you do, that's key, because I think if you're starting from scratch, you got to see what they're doing, what's working, especially if they've been able to amass some level of success, seeing what works. But then you said also being able to cut out what it is that they're not doing, be able to really highlight that thing that they're not doing, this gaping need that people have that maybe this business isn't able to fulfill or doesn't realize is essential to address. You being able to find that is, again, what allowed you to create a strategy for that. I think what we do a lot of times when starting off, we like to copy and paste things when it comes to the businesses, right? We see somebody doing something, so we put on their clothes, we put on their makeup, we wear their hair, we wear their outfits, like we talk like them. If I wanted to be like Steve Harvey and I started wearing big suits, y'all would be like, okay, Byron, okay, like calm down. But it's funny. But this is what we do with our businesses a lot of times. We try to find out everything they're doing, and to some level, it's helpful, but you have to find that niche that allows you to be different while being effective. And so thank you for that, Sabrina. AJ, you have started your business, and it's something that's helping people already. How are you able to diversify what you do from what everyone else is doing?
It's a great question. So thankfully, I've been blessed to have a bunch of internships leading up to this decision that I made to ultimately stop interviewing for full-time roles, to decline any further interviews and do this thing on my own. And so I spent a little time in an internship that I completed in London while I was studying abroad at a real estate firm, strategy consulting. And a lot of the work that I did there was in competitive intelligence. And so it's exactly what you just talked about, right? We spend so much time trying to look at those who are doing a lot of what we want to do, and we try to mimic their style exactly. And the big challenge of performing the task of doing competitive research and competitive intelligence is, of course, trying to get a sense of what folks who are already out there are doing, but also try to understand what isn't being done. But then it's also understanding what makes you uniquely positioned to be able to perform whatever is missing. And for me, that was a challenge, right? As somebody who is now in that space, it's still a challenge, right? It's one of those things as an entrepreneur of color, you have to remind yourself, like, I am capable. I have the requisite amount of experience, and the folks around me who will motivate me and hold me accountable to the things that I said that I want to do. So in terms of finding my niche, for me, it was about looking at areas like competitive intelligence, looking at things like project management, and applying my economics degree and saying, I love looking at the macro economy. I love looking at the macro environment and trying to figure out how, these really small, a business, right, an entity, a really small sort of drop in the larger world, in this larger economy, how the things that happen in the economy every day affect their business, and how can they react and respond effectively to be able to not only move with the tide, but disrupt it. So that was sort of me finding my niche. Yeah.
That's great. And I think that's big. Like, we're going into holiday season, and there are some people who don't even have a strategy when it comes to Black Friday, Cyber Monday, holiday giveaways. Knowing when you want to start your business based on what's going on in the world, all of these things really do matter. And being able to find, my brother just said competitive intelligence. I'm gonna start using that just because. Um, I really love that. I think there's so much there. One of the things that, going back to also what Sabrina said and tying this in, and a bit of what Dr. Phillips said earlier, something that I've realized coming from the church world, I've often looked at the Bible as a good guide to business life, right? Like, sacrifice is big in there. And there's one scripture in the Revelations that talk about they overcame by the blood of the Lamb and the word of their testimony. So the way I look at that is the blood of the Lamb is the sacrifice, because you don't get the blood out unless there's some sacrifice. But also the power of the testimony, your story. Like, your testimony is really just your story. And being able to find your story and match that with your sacrifice, being able to put those two things together is really what allows you to stand out in a marketplace. Because you can literally do the same thing someone else does, but it's your story that can separate you sometimes from everyone else. Why do they want to follow you? Well, my story is this, right? Why am I interested in your product? Everybody has bath salts, everybody has candles. Why do I want your candle? Yes, everybody's candle is organic. Everybody smells good. Why do I want yours? I want it from you because you made it from this experience. And that is that story and that sacrifice coming together. I think it allows us to really find our niche. And when starting off, I personally wouldn't sit down, like with my clients when it comes to love. I tell them, hey, before you want a relationship, what's your story? Do you know your story? If somebody asked you what your story was, do you know what your story would be? Because the story you're about to enter into is somebody else's life. You're about to go into somebody else's story. And so you got to be very clear about yours before you start merging it with someone else's. So same thing with your business, right? Like, if you don't know your story, how are you going to explain that to your client? How are you going to explain that to your customer? How are you going to really create a union and a relationship? I can go on about that once I start talking about love. So let me move on. AJ, starting from nothing can be absolutely daunting. I know this to be true. There are so many challenges that can arise, right? On left side, right side, big things, small things that can hit you unexpectedly, and things you may be prepared for. How do you handle challenges, and what's one of the biggest challenges you face since starting your business?
Yeah, I think you started off perfectly when you talked about sacrifice and understanding the cycle and the themes that exist when it comes to success, right? We can look at the Bible, right? I'm a preacher's kid, and so I feel that in my spirit 100%. Like, my personal opinion, there isn't anything in this world good that isn't born of pain, suffering, or hard work, otherwise known as sacrifice.
Yes.
Right. And so I think, to your point about the challenges, the number one challenge for somebody who is still in college and is telling chief executives of multi-million-dollar in revenue firms that I can help you take your business to another level. You get the have you put in your time question a lot, right? Have you put in your time? Wait your turn, kind of like a wait your turn. I want to see examples. And so when you're starting from scratch, it's hard to produce examples in the beginning. And so you have to find creative ways to be able to otherwise still show your value. And so for me, one of the ways that I've been able to overcome that is, yes, we're a new company, but we have over 100 years of experience on our board of advisors, right? We got CEO of a wealth management firm who's been in that for, more than 20 years. We have an electrical engineer who's been in that for, 30. So it's finding those creative ways to, so we talk about finding your niche. Once you have found it, it is communicating that in an effective way. And even when those challenges come forward along the lines of, can you produce examples? It's being malleable, still looking, still searching. So for me, that has been the biggest challenge. And yet we're still moving forward. So I think it's understanding that sacrifice is real and that it may not show up right away. You may have to put in some serious time, energy, and effort before you see a return. And I think that's the other understanding that you have to come into this with.
That's brilliant. Honestly, I remember my PR team literally saying to me, Byron, why aren't you saying that you're a former pastor? And I was like, well, because I'm former and I did that and I'm trying to move on, right? And they said, well, you are starting as a love coach. This is the path you're taking now. And people want receipts. I was like, well, I've been helping people for years. I just didn't call it that. It's like, no. People need to know your story of how you became this person that says they should be an expert at being a nanny or helping people with their businesses, Dr. Phillips, or helping people with their money, AJ. So telling your story, being able to pull all of it together and make it make sense, that is what sells you. That is exactly right, AJ. Hey, look, it's not just me, y'all. It's my board, my advisors. Do you know my advisors, Dr. So-and-so? Like if I would walk in the room and be like, I know Dr. Phillips, right? you sometimes you gotta name drop, but that's part of it, to be able to craft the confidence, not just self-confidence, but confidence that people should have in your brand. And so the keyword there would be testimonials that people can lean on in order to help them make a better, swifter decision with you. Dr. Phillips, for you as well, what do you feel about challenges? 30 years plus in business and helping people build businesses. What has been a paramount or memorable challenge that you faced, and how did you overcome that?
So first, before we get in, I want to say to AJ, keep doing what you're doing. I love everything that you said, brother. Keep doing what you're doing, because people will try to use the fact that you're a new company against you. But your testimonials, those companies that you work with, give you third-party credibility to keep pushing your way through. So don't let anybody tell you anything other than what you're doing. I think that is absolutely awesome. Byron, to answer your question, for me, when I hear the word challenge, the first thing I think of is opportunity. But there is challenge, there's opportunity. And I think so many people miss that in their everyday lives. There are so many things that, how many times have you seen something you say, why didn't I think of that? Or I could have invented that. Most times it's because you don't believe that you have the solution. You don't believe that you can bring this product or service into the marketplace. But we pass our $1 million opportunity every day. And so challenges don't deter me. I get excited every day as I'm going through it. And that's why I always say I'm a serial entrepreneur, because as I face certain challenges, the first thing I say is, well, what can we do about it? Is there a solution in the marketplace? And sometimes it's not as difficult as you may think. Because if you're thinking about it, somebody else has already thought about it. It could literally be you picking up the phone, finding a manufacturing plant that you could just white label that product and get it out into the marketplace and start a stream of revenue. I think we tend to complicate challenges, where we don't have to. We come up with all the reasons we can't do it. I love when I meet people. They tell me everything they've done wrong instead of telling me all the things they've done right. It's an innate thing for people to talk about the bad things and not focus on the good things. I love that AJ and Sabrina both said, and I think Sabrina brought it out first, was the mindset. Half of the challenge with most small business owners is the mindset around success. They can tell you every reason why they cannot succeed, but they're never feeding themselves, their mind, their business. They're not speaking to their culture and their values. You talked about testimonials, but I will tell you, the one thing we've got to think about is our community. We all have a tribe of people who are seeking us out, and they buy into our culture, what our values are. I use the example of Tom's. When you would buy a pair of shoes, another pair of shoes would go to Africa, right? And you felt that you were a part of something. If you believed in that, then guess what? You became a faithful customer of Tom's because you felt like your money was doing something. That's what we miss. We all stand for something. You got to be clear about what it is you stand for. If you look at consumers today, especially millennials, they want to know who you are, what you believe in, and where you spend, how you spend your money as a corporation. So you got to embody those things as you begin to build your business and place it out into the marketplace.
That's powerful. I think a lot of people need to hear that because it isn't just about testimonials. I think if you can get a community, a group that follows you, I think in the advent of social media, followers and community, having a tribe is more important than ever. Having people that actually will want to follow you, hear what you're saying, understand your perspective, understand why you say the things you say. People like consistency, but they also like a little bit of shock and awe. And the consistency comes from, I know this person, right? I know what they would do. But I like the shock and awe because I like that they might just do something bigger. They just might go somewhere else. They might just try something new. And so people like the consistency that I know you. I know who you are. I know what you stand for. I know what you would do, what you wouldn't do. I tune in because I know that. But then I also want to see you level up. And people like to see your journey and progression. One of the things that we were talking about, I had an interview where we were talking about starting small. And a lot of times people are afraid to expose their smallness. Sometimes people are afraid to tell the story of, I'm doing this on my own. This is just me. I'm a one-man show. But sometimes people will support you more when they know that you really have some skin in the game. When they know that you, like when I tell people, hey, my website, you see my website? That's my website. I put that together. My flyers, yep, I did all those. So when people don't understand that, yeah, I could use that money in one way, but I got people to pay. I got money I can use elsewhere, and I know how to do it. And until I want to do something else, I do it for myself. I think it's absolutely essential to share your smallness too, to share the vulnerable sides with people. So people like that consistency, but they also like the shock and awe. And sometimes the vulnerability that you show is a little bit of that shock and awe that they need in order to stay engaged with you as a customer. I gotta say I'm enjoying this conversation a lot. I think from the feedback of our viewers, especially, they're getting so much from this. I just want to let you know and encourage you because this is really getting good right here. Look, what advice would you give, Dr. Phillips, one of your clients who is stuck in starting? You know that place where they don't know what to do next. And I'm going to ask you, Sabrina, I'm going to ask you, AJ, from your various perspectives as well, especially you, Sabrina. I'm really interested in what on the nanny side of that thing. But Dr. Phillips, what is it that you would say to them when they're just stuck in starting?
I get a lot of people who have started in their business and done extremely well, and then they get stuck. And more than getting stuck, the business plateaus, if you will. So for me, I am a back end person. I want to know what systems and processes you have in place so I can track your metrics. I want to see what it is that people are consistently coming to you for. What are they buying from you? What are they engaging you on? Because here's what I've noticed. because we have social media, people tend to look at what other people are doing and they get off the bandwagon. And then they begin to say, well, maybe I should do this or maybe I should do that. And you get away from your loyal customer base because you're chasing new customers. And so when you don't take care and nurture the people who love you, you know, those 3 words we all are doing right now in business. We're getting people to know, like, and trust us. We forget about those people we initially did business with who are saying, hey, take my money. I want to do business with you, because we're chasing after somebody else. So one of the things I do is I go back and I do an 18-month report if they've been in business that long. If not, it'll be a shorter time. And I follow the trail of money, because what that tells me is, one, who your customer is, because who you may think your customer is may not be your customer, because the avatar can change, the persona can change. And I'm looking at where the revenue is coming from and what it is people are asking you for. Now, once we identify those things, I can then put a strategy in place that is going to increase your clients, is going to increase your cash flow, and it's going to get you more focused on what it is that you should be doing in the business.
That's good. Sabrina, what are you thinking?
Will you ask me the question one more time?
So when it comes to being stuck, have you ever been stuck in your business, and what did you do to help yourself get from that stuck space?
I wouldn't say that I ever feel stuck in my business. This year has been challenging just because there's a pandemic, and I do think that as business owners, we need to give ourselves some grace this year. This is not normal. We've never gone through this. Our parents have never gone through this. There is a pandemic outside. So that's number one. Let's give ourselves some grace there. But I've never felt completely stuck. I think that for those who are wondering whether or not they should start their own business and they feel like, oh, I'm scared, I would just say to go for it. It is a personality trait of mine too, and I too am a PK. So it's a personality trait of mine too. When I feel like the Holy Spirit is telling me to do something, I'm going to do it, and nobody can stop me. I'm just going to do it. Like, I don't care. So that's one. But I understand that not everybody is where I am, and there are some scary starting a business. But I would just say, just do it. What is the worst thing that could happen? You fail. Okay. Many people start a business and it fails, and they start another one and it's successful. You know, it is not the end of the world. And I agree with you, Byron, about small beginnings and not despising them. I think it is important. People want to hear your story. Like I was saying before, the reason why I was getting clients wasn't because I was up against nanny agencies that have been in business for 20 years that have household names here. And it didn't bother me one bit, because I was sitting down with this person and I was in their face, and they could me, and I could give them, hey, we just started off, but here's what we're offering you. Here's what makes us different, and just bringing that confidence to the table. So I would say, if you ever feel stuck, take a break. Take a break. I have a really something that works for me. I have a something that I'm putting up in my office. I just moved too, so my office is together. But it's a picture that says, I love naps, and I do. And so I make sure that I take a minute to rest each day because I do this full time. But I also let Mondays and Fridays be the days where I do something for me. And I typically don't take meetings on those days. And then I call it my Tuesday through Thursday grind, that I do 3 days out of the week, where that's when all my meetings happen. That's when I really grind it out. And I give myself Mondays and Fridays to get my nails done, get my hair done, do something nice for myself, go to lunch with my husband, like do something fun, go on a walk, go on a run. I think that when you feel stuck, it's important to do something for yourself that's going to make yourself feel good. And it doesn't have to cost you anything. Honestly, I think for business owners, especially during this time, one of the biggest things I learned was to get out of the house. Many of us work from home, or out of your office, and go for a walk, get some sunshine. It makes a huge difference. But that's what I would say. Like, if you're feeling stuck, take some time to love on yourself. It is okay to give yourself some grace. It is okay to go to people like Dr. Felicia and get some good advice, and get someone, like, outsourcing for me was a great deal. Was a great big deal too. making sure if there was something I didn't necessarily like to do, handing it off to someone else and having them do it. Those little things help a lot. So that's what I would do. But there's a pandemic, y'all. If you feel stuck and you are a business owner, it is okay.
I love that. AJ, what about for you, brother? Have you felt stuck? And if so, what have you done?
Absolutely. I love what Sabrina just said about extending yourself some grace and forgiving yourself. These are extraordinary times that we're in. And so if you are not achieving extraordinary results right now, then, it's okay to first just acknowledge like these aren't normal times. From a consulting perspective, what I would tell a client is that, okay, you're stuck. Let's try to figure out why, right? And so I think two things need to happen. If you are an individual and you're running your entire company, you need to reflect inward and ask yourself a bunch of questions about really your discipline and kind of where your heart is and why you're doing this. Not to question yourself in that way, but to reflect on those things. Remind yourself why you're here. And then look at your business. So first start with yourself and then look at your business and try to figure out, first of all, understand that it's actually okay to make mistakes in business, and it's okay to pivot and change the business model as the environment changes. So the advice that I want to give about making mistakes is this: it's okay to make mistakes in business. Reflect on when you make those mistakes, understand why you made them, and then don't repeat it. And if at a certain point over time, you learn a lot of lessons, and if you combine learning those lessons with what Sabrina and Dr. Phillips said, which is seeking competent counsel, right? Friends, advisors, folks with experience, you combine it with that. I think you put yourself in a really good position. So, and the point about pivoting and changing, I want to point folks to Amazon, which is, at least at this moment, one of the most successful companies of our generation, perhaps of our life. I don't know if we've ever seen a company who has grown at a steeper pace and is still on pace to continue growing. Remember about 10, 15 years ago, like Amazon was a book company. They stream music, TV shows, they deliver just about anything, both by train, by air, by drone. And so it's also understanding that the business that you started yesterday may not be the same business 20 years from now. And I think that's the other thing that Dr. Phillips really touched on, which was important, which is, take a step back from social media. If you're spending too much time worrying about what everybody else is doing, then you're going to do what everybody else is doing. Yes. And if you want to create a business model that's a winning business model, you have to find what folks aren't doing. And so taking a break from that can also help you too, to kind of recenter yourself on what's really important.
May I add something really quickly? I think that it's really important for business owners to start businesses for the right reasons. If you're not passionate about the business that you're running, don't even bother. So if you feel stuck, check yourself. Do I really want to do this business? Am I passionate about what I'm doing? Do I care? Or if you're in it just to make money, it's not going to work long term. And so I just wanted to add that in there as well, because we didn't bring that up. Sorry for the text messages. I'm kidding. My friends were watching, but yeah, if you're not passionate about, I could not do this if I wasn't passionate about families and children. There's no way in the world. And so that's what keeps me going. And I'm sure AJ is passionate about what he does. And I know that Dr. Phillips is passionate. And Byron, I know you are as well. Otherwise, why would we be doing this, So if you feel stuck, this may be the year to ask yourself, is this the right business for me?
If I could just add one more thing on top of that about what you just said, because that's so important. There are folks who do this for the money. And if you're doing it only for the money, it will fail. Straight up. If you're only doing it for the money, you'll fail. Now, if you're doing it because you want to make money, because you want to take care of your family, or you want to do something with that money that's going to contribute to something, then it won't fail. But if your pure focus is to accumulate money for some reason, you're going to come into that money, and then you're going to recognize this is just a thing.
Yeah.
So
It is.
Yeah.
it has
I
to
agree.
be.
I agree.
Yeah. I always suggest reading Simon Sinek's book, Start with Why. Because the why is what's going, you're right. The why is what's going to keep you in the game. If you can't tell me
Yes.
your why, we got a problem. And I will tell you, entrepreneurship is the most faith-based journey you will ever take. It is. And you got to have some kind of foundation. I don't care about religion, but you got to have some kind of spiritual foundation, because one moment you're up in the clouds because you're winning. And 2 seconds later, something will happen that will bring you to your knees, Byron. You know this. And there is it's just something spiritual about entrepreneurship. Trust me, over 30 years, I've seen businesses come and go. I've seen them make millions and be reduced to nothing. I've seen it all. And the one thing that I can tell you is that success, obedience breeds success.
Yes.
Obedience meaning that you are consistent. I don't care what it is that you do, but you go to bed doing it and you wake up doing it. If you get mad, you can go cry in the shower, you can quit at night, but you get up in the morning and you keep going. But you have to be consistent and know your why. Those two things will keep you in the game, and a whole lot of prayer.
You are right about that. Let me tell you something. I say this very seriously to clients of mine. I say, if you aren't praying, you're not ready for a relationship. But I would say the same thing to someone trying to start a business, because having that spirit life aligned with your business allows you to remain consistent. And when people get stuck, I can tell they really don't have that spiritual life, because stuck is a destination. It's not a part of the journey. Stuck is a destination. When you get stuck somewhere, that's where you are. That's where you're going to be until you can start movement is part of a journey. So being stuck is when you actually reach a destination. We should not be in a space where we are ever stuck. Really, we should be in a place where we're wondering what's ahead, what's around the corner, what's coming up, where's going to be the next rest stop, where's like Sabrina said, where's going to be the next time to break. But it should never be that I'm stuck, because that means you haven't really tapped in to, that song, tap, tap, tap in. When when you really should be tapped in and tuned in to what the Spirit is leading you to do. I thank you all for this amazing conversation. Thank you for gracing us with your wisdom, your experience, and your story. I'm going to do a lightning round question. Try to answer in 1 or 2 sentences. It's hard, but I like trying these types of things. I do this with myself a lot. What advice would you give to the younger version of yourself if you were starting today? 1 or 2 sentences. Who wants to go first?
I'll go first.
Go for it.
Get a board of directors or advisors and get funding. Get funding. Stop with the bootstrap mentality.
Love it. AJ, Sabrina?
I would tell I'm 30, almost 36 now. So if I was like looking at my 26-year-old self, I would just tell her, you are not a failure. That's what I would tell her. You're not a failure. You have much more ahead of you.
Love that. That's important to say. What about you, AJ?
I would say it's okay to be different. And surround yourself with people who aspire to greatness just as you do.
That's awesome. I would say think higher. In all things, think higher. There's still more above the ceiling that you see. Thank you again. I have to thank you, Sabrina. Great meeting you. Thank you for your advice and your wisdom here. You've said some amazing things tonight. Having the right mindset has left us all thinking about that in our journey, and giving yourself some grace I think that was really important. AJ, thank you for being on as well, my brother. Using that word competitive intelligence. I'm going to be writing that down and using that. I don't know how, but I'm going to use it somehow. Watch it. You're going to hear that in my business, just to say it to a client so I sound smart. And then you also said find creative ways to prove your worth. And I think that's really important. I love what you said about you talking about your advisors. Dr. Phillips, thank you so much as well for being on. Great to see you again. Thank you for talking to us and sharing this with us about community and remembering our community, but also to hear opportunity in challenge. I think we all needed to be reminded of that tonight. Also, you reminded us to follow the money, which, that money trail is real. If it ain't making money, it ain't making much sense, right? And then also about this last piece you said about entrepreneurship being so much about being faith-based and having a faith focus. You all have dropped so many nuggets tonight, and everybody, I can tell from the feedback, has been truly blessed. Thank you for sharing your time, energy, and wisdom. And again, to all the moguls who have watched and tuned in, make sure to like, share, and pass this on to someone who is thinking about starting a business or has started a business and needs a little bit more of encouragement and some wisdom behind them. And my last word will simply be, y'all don't forget to pray. All right. Y'all be blessed and enjoy your night. Be great. And remember, you are worth the love you seek.